Hi, Billy the Artist here, and we're back with another how to draw video. Today we are going to do the first of two, and it is of The Grinch. This is the new Grinch movie. We're going to dive straight in. This first one is going to be a normal head and shoulders portrait. So I'm going to draw lightly and quickly. The second one will be a full body job, so that will be a little bit more complex. So first off, I'm going to divide. That's quite light and you won't be able to see that too easily, but I've just divided the paper into quarters. You can do that with a ruler lightly if you want to, but it helps you for when you're putting the shapes down. And now we are going to draw in quite quickly the shapes, and so you should be able to see these. Now really, his head is, the top of his head goes there, so it's just like a giant egg shape. But there's a couple of others that kind of go round. So the Grinch's head is quite large, an egg shape like that. But we're going to use the boxes. Remember, if you check in the cards and the description, the link to how to draw anything, part 1 shows you the boxes. So there's his eyebrow. Now coming kind of halfway over here, we need, so we've got his eye in the middle of his eyebrows here, we need another little box that's going to be that eyebrow. And if we just draw a box over, right over the top, that's the top of his head. You saw I whacked in an egg quickly. Now his eye, we're going to have a little, I'll draw a square first so it looks like he's kind of wearing glasses, and a box there for that eye. Now his nose is going to be a little circle, but I'll draw a box there first so you can see where that's going to be. Now from here you've got this cheek coming out and this one on this side, so we've got these really large cheeks and they're going to come, so there's another big box there, and then you've got this shape coming down. It's just like a giant V, so we're just going to draw a V down, and then obviously his hair goes off up at the top, and that'll be a bit wiggly, and we'll deal with that very, very quickly. But you've got this huge shape here where his mouth is going to go in, but very quickly you can see where I've got these lines that the boxes give you the foundation for everything that's going to go on for the Grinch's head. And again, we're just going to do this very, very quickly. It's quite a nice simple shape, but these boxes will give us the direction where we need to go. And he's obviously a very, very furry creature. Well, this is voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch in the new Illumination movie. The people who have done the Minions and the Secret Life of Pets, you can check out the Secret Life of Pets drawings that I did. So there's his eyebrow. That's kind of, we're going to go over this box now. And this eyebrow comes out here, and you can just do nice big scratchy hair. Just go in the direction of the hair. Remember, this doesn't matter whether you're doing nice neat hair or scratchy hair. If you go in the direction of the hair, you create the actual illusion of what is in your drawing there, well, in this case the Grinch's eyebrows. Now here I'm going to draw in from the top of his head. You've got this top of this egg shape that's coming down here to the centre, so I'm going to flesh out that line, and then I'm going to go in the direction of the hair and make it slightly furry. Now the same, halfway on this side coming down, and it comes under the centre line out to where this cheek is. And again, I'm just gently indicating that fuzzy bit. So we've got the top part of his head. Now his eyebrow comes in here to this eye. So this eye underneath this eyebrow here is the small one, and he's looking a bit sinister because the Grinch is quite nasty. Written, of course, by Dr. Zeus. Theodore Geisel was his real name. So if we just draw that little, you could draw a full shape, a full kind of egg shape. but instead I've just done half of it. It's like a C, a letter C, and then you do the same for the eye. He's got a tiny little highlight down there in the iris, and the eye is actually black. But it's that very diagonal swoosh that makes him look very sinister. And we'll lightly fill in that part there, and the shadow underneath his eye will make it quite dark. But straight away you can see the eye starting to rise off the paper towards you. Now we'll do this eye again. Now inside this box that we drew here, if we draw an egg shape that fits inside, so you've got the slight curve that goes up to here and then over the top, and the top of his eye just starts underneath his big bushy eyebrow, and then again he's looking this direction, so we fill in this side of his eye and we'll darken down underneath the bottom of his eye, and then the top part we'll bring it up and darken it and bring it down, and then we can draw in his iris. He's got a full pupil, so again you want a little ellipse in there because he's got this full pupil on this eye because you can see more of it, and then he's got the big highlight. Now this one's a little oblong, but just curve it slightly before you darken in, and that's the light off the window. And then again we can lightly shade in towards the corner of his eye is darker, and then we can lighter shade that, and we can make that a little bit darker. Now again you can use an eraser, putty rub it, and you can lighten up slightly his iris, and there you've got the Grinch's eyes coming out. Now the top, his eyelid coming down, again just follow the shape and the curve, and we can now just very quickly, doing these fairy scratchy lines, we can draw in the rest of his head, his cheeks going down to his neck. Now again, follow the curve, but when you're drawing this side, it's inside. Remember, don't just rest your arm down and try and use your wrist, otherwise you're limited. You need your arm moving from your shoulder joint, not just your elbow. So here we're going to come out and we're just going to draw this line down that comes all the way down to the bottom where his neck is, and the same thing on this side. We'll draw out, use the curve of your wrist because it's inside, and your wrist will make a natural curve for you, and that's straight down. Now if you've got the dark lines underneath his eyes, if we do that, that gives him a bit more shape. Again, we'll shade him in quickly just to show you how quick you can get this in as you build it up, and then we'll do the full kind of shading afterwards. Now we want his nice nose. We've got this square that we put in. Now we are going to just, again, put an ellipse, a kind of egg shape in. Remember, the light is kind of coming from this direction, so he's got a bit of a highlight on this side, but it's not as tingy and bright as what's in his pupil here. But then you've also got his nostrils underneath, so we've got a little shape like half an egg on each side, and they are his nostrils, so we can darken them down, those down, and just put a slight curve. Don't make it solid and square so you've got the full circle of the outside of his nose, so you just curve and it's more natural then. And that's the same on a human's nose as well as a Grinch's nose. So now you've got a couple of ways you can do this. You can either shade in where the colour is, the kind of more tone, and leave the highlight showing. As you can see, I'm doing this quite gently using the side of the pencil, and then even lighter you can put that on the top and then darken the little shadow around that corner. or you can just do it all in one go, smudge it and smooth it with a bit of kitchen roll. Remember, you can either use a bit of kitchen roll, or you can get these smudging tools, or just the finger, which is very useful. And we'll use those in a moment. And then you can pick the highlight out again using your eraser. And again, there's lots of little details that you can do on these the more time that you actually spend. Again, if you check out the portraits time lapses, like Ed Sheeran and the Doctor Who characters and things like that, and I'll be doing more portraits this year, you'll see what can happen if you spend a day or a day and a half on an actual drawing. So there we have the Grinch appearing. We've got his eyes and his nose. Now we need his mouth. And his mouth is quite a big wide smile. And you can see here it fits in with the shape that we kind of put in. But we want to match it to the drawing. So you can see that it's a little bit below the kind of halfway point, but it comes all the way out. So the top of his mouth on this side is about halfway between the edge of his eye and the edge of his head. So if you put a marker there, and now on this side, it's further over. So you've got more of his cheek on this side than this side, because it's just kind of pointing that way. It's not as full straight on portrait. And now again, we need to come down a little bit further, but it's just a big U. So just think again of a big circle, big your lips, and use your arm, and you can draw down his mouth in a big U. And there, the Grinch's mouth has appeared. Now, obviously, he's got some kind of thin lips, so you can then increase that down at the bottom. You could use the inside of your wrist. So there's the top of his lip, and you've got his top lip line in there, and then his bottom lip underneath. And then you've got a very thin, pronounced line going up to the side, up to where the corners of his mouth is. Now there, very, very quickly, we've got in the full shapes of, in a few minutes, 10 minutes, of the Grinch. And this is the same that you can do for portraits. Use the same techniques to lay out a portrait of a human, of your family member or a friend or even a pet, as you can see in The Secret Life of Pets. Again, there's a link in the cards in the description to the How to Draw playlist, and there's over 100 videos on there now covering all kinds of little topics. But we're now going to build up a little bit of the furry detail in the Grinch now for the end, and then also put a little bit of shading in to give him a little bit more form. But you can see very quickly how the bulk of his head, but we need obviously the top of his hair. Now again, just think of a tree, but you can just see quite easily, if you just put a little mark at the top where the top one is, the top of this little flourish of hair that comes off the top. You must use some pretty good gel. Rather than just going straight up and out, again, you just use the curve of your wrist. And there's kind of two lines there, so you can draw that one down to match, and then there's a little flick in there, and then you get that going right up to the top. Again, from this part of his head, that goes over the centre line, and again, just a nice flourish of a flick of hair going up there, and then another one going there. And so this one that goes right up to the top and off the page joins on there but curves out, and then this side one joins onto the side of that tree. So you just think of it like a tree. If you look at a tree in your garden when there's no leaves in winter, you see the main trunk of the tree and then the branches coming off, and that's what you do. And again, just with the hair, and the same thing with branches of trees, follow the direction of the branches or the hair, and that's what you can do to make it work. So this one off the top of his head is coming out over along the top line of this box. and you could just add some little bits of hair. Now today I've left the construction lines on so that you can actually see these. You can erase them, obviously, you can rub them out. But now off his cheek here, he's got some big whiskers. And we can just do the tufts of hair out. Coming down his cheek. Again, you can see that the hair comes off the side, following the lines, and as it comes down his neck, it starts to go more vertical, whereas those are closer to horizontal. Again, just look at your source material and then copy the images. So again, off the side here, they are horizontal, and then as it comes around, it's going to drop down and go more vertical as it comes down his neck, as the fur does. So now there is a full and fuzzy Grinch drawn nicely for you. Now again, he's got all of these fur lines that kind of go with the direction of the shapes of his face. So I'm going to remove the construction lines from the inside of his head, just so as we have a clean piece of paper to have a go at. And now we are very quickly going to shade in. Again, I'm going to use the side of the pencil, and you've got light direction and you've got shade coming underneath his chin. So it's obviously lighter on the top here and lighter on his forehead than it is down here, and underneath his eye is darker because he's this kind of sinister creature. So I'm going to quickly shade in using the side of the pencil, and I'm just going to smudge with my finger that on his eye. And again, just using your finger or a piece of kitchen roll, because his pupil isn't pure, not his pupil, his eyeball isn't pure white. And again, I'm now using the same kind of tone and strength down this side of his neck, all the way down, filling up underneath, and then lightening up as we come up this side. Now his nose, he's got this kind of line, a bit like a cat, that comes down, and I'm just feathering in, but starting to do the lines in the way that the fur goes on his actual face, because this is lighter, so I'm doing it much lighter. There's a bit of a shadow which we can do sideways from his nose down there, but then these very, very simple lines, we need the shadow coming off this eye here over the top of his cheek. We need to increase the darkness of the shadow under this eyebrow. And again, we can darken his eyebrow down because they are very dark green. And right under his eye. So underneath his eyebrow is very dark. And he's got amazing fur. So again, as we come down, use the fur in your lines to help with your shading. And you can do this very quickly and suggestively, like I'm doing here, or you can spend a very, very, very long time and build it up. Now the top of his mouth, as we shade in this in, and you can do that with your finger as well, isn't a solid line, it's kind of fuzzy where it goes in. The crevice goes in the corner of his mouth. So now we're going to do the hair up to the top, but he's got these kind of V's, so if you just do a V there and another one on the top. And this is the kind of patterning in his fur. So I'm now following the line of that V that I just put on, but also doing these hatch lines in the direction of the angle of his forehead. So again, on the top, we can do another one following that V line that I put down. That kind of goes all the way up to the top of his head. So there you can see that patterning actually in the top of his head. And then we can do some very, very, very light lines coming right the way down to the top of his eyebrows. And again, just remember that you're having fun and making marks. We need to darken under that eyebrow, and you're creating, in a sense, an illusion using the pencil. So now I'm just increasing a little bit of the line detail as we come down over his top lip. And now the angle going up to his nose. And the Grinch is really starting to come together. So we're doing around that side, around the right side of his top of his lip up to his nose. I'm going to really darken down underneath that eye. And we need to darken there. He has got, you can increase that, he has got little eyelashes. Remember, this kind of harsh striking eyebrows and the real dark, that's how they make it sinister, because he's like looking from underneath his eyebrows like, oh, I'm a bad character. And you can see there, he's pretty bad. So now we've got underneath his chin, we're just going to quickly put in these lines. Again, you can see I'm just using flicks of the pencil in the direction of the fur going down his face and down his neck. I'm increasing that shadow in the fur there very quickly. And this is where a putty rubber or a putty eraser, depending whether you're in the UK or the USA, is really helpful for final details. So I'm just going to darken there, bit of shade coming down. Increasing the size. It's a bit like a big cotton bud, the top of his mouth, if you think of it like that. There is all standing out, but you can use this. This is the kind of final bit. 20 minutes for this. This is a full portrait. It's pretty good, and you can pinch a putty rubber and get a point on it. You can actually get erasers that are like a clutch pencil as well. I've not got one. I've seen them and I thought, oh, they look quite interesting. But you can pinch it and use it as a drawing tool. You can see here on the top of his cheek, you can now use the putty rubber in exactly the same way as you did the pencil, and you can put some highlights in the direction of the fur. Again, over the top of his eyebrow, the very top of his head. Again, I'm going to just smudge that with my finger a little bit. Again, your finger's a really good tool. And you can increase the tone gently with the finger and then go back in with the putty rubber and just add some very, very quick highlights. So again, down here, down the side of his head, you can indicate this kind of lit little bit of backlight. Makes him look a little bit more sinister. Again, very gently, you can indicate a bit more shape and form underneath his mouth. Again, on this side, needs to be a bit lighter. And there, so now I'm going to bring out the top right on there. His nose needs to be a little bit darker. But there, very quickly, is The Grinch, who will be on cinema screens at the end of the year, so expect some new trailers. I'm just darkening under his eyebrows there. And that, again, you can mess about, or you can do detail as much as you want to build up and build up and build up. But I'm really happy with that. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed getting your pencils out and doing a drawing of the Grinch. And I'll be doing one of his full body. I might do it with a felt tip in the green colour, just so as you get the shapes of the full body very, very quickly. But I hope you've enjoyed this drawing. Please do like and subscribe, and check out the other how to draw videos and the portraits and the paintings. Thanks very much. Take care. Have fun with your drawing this week. Ta-da.